like thunder, clearing the gray. Hands held high, hearts unchained, a ministry of hope in a world of pain.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blue Lotus Studio. Here we have with us Ashley Myers. Ashley, if you could please provide everybody who you are.
Yes, my name is Ashley Myers. A little bit about me. I'm a mother of four boys. I'm actually married now, but yeah, not a lot of details, but just a little bit.
That's wonderful. Where do we know each other from? If anybody doesn't know, Ashley Myers and I grew up together at the Methodist Home for Children and Youth.
Yes, we met each other and grew up with each other at the Methodist Home for Children and Youth.
All right, today's topic is CPS and abuses that happen in it. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the questions if you're comfortable with doing so.
Yes,
All right. So, forced medication and mental health is the first topic. Can you describe your experiences with medication while in foster care?
yes. I feel like I was basically put on medications that I really didn't need. I feel like I was diagnosed with a lot of things for the medications that I don't feel like I should have been on. I was basically overly medicated with a lot of stuff that they had me on.
So, do you feel like that was a misdiagnosis on their part?
Yes, I do.
All right. Second question would be, were you informed about the reasons for the medication prescribed to you?
I was given their reasons, but later as I got older, I've actually looked up reason like the medication side effects is and the reason for the medications, and like I said, it didn't add up to me. Like I was like, I didn't feel like that was proper for me to be on that type of medication.
So, do you feel that since you was a child experiencing heartache and loneliness from being pulled away from your rock, your home, your loved ones, do you think that the emotions that you were expressing at that time period or exhibiting those type of behaviors was because you missed your family, not because you were acting out in a schizophrenic or some psychoactive manner?
Yes, that's how I feel. Like I definitely with the fact that they took my grandmother away from me. That was my main backbone, and like me not being able to talk or see her, I acted out in ways I don't feel like it was anything mental or anything like that from it. I feel like it's just me missing my grandmother.
All right. Did you have any say in your treatment plan or access to alternative therapies? Did they give you any other choice but the medication that they gave you, or was it more forced?
It was more forced with the medications. Like I was given the opportunity to go to therapy, but I didn't really agree with a lot of things that the therapist was saying because they also took the input of the therapist to also try to put me on medications. So like they try to have therapy, but like I said, I didn't really even agree with the therapy sessions either.
All right. Last question on this topic. How did the medication affect your daily life and overall well being? How was you acting? Were you zombified? Were you overactive? Were you eating less? What was the symptoms for you?
I was most definitely like I won't really like say zombified, but like I was way more calmed down than what I would normally would be, and really wasn't eating like definitely with certain medications I wouldn't feel hungry, and then it was medications that to where if I didn't eat, I started feeling like weak or anything like that. That if I didn't eat with the medication.
So, I have a random question because when I was on certain medications within the system itself, um, when I couldn't eat, they put me on something that made me eat. And then when I started eating, I started gaining a lot of weight.
Mhm.
And then I had to be placed on certain other medications to help me use the bathroom because this medication was
Yeah,
stopping things. Yeah.
that's how
All right.
a
So,
little sort of with me. Like when I wasn't in the mood to eat certain medications, that would put me on something else to make me eat, and then I would be moved to something. for being overweight and stuff like that. And I was actually put on medications that I later come find out that was for diabetes and stuff like that. And I didn't even have diabetes at that moment.
Right. Not even junior diabetic.
Mm-mm.
All right, real quick, some statistics. One in four children in foster care between the ages of 6 and 17 are administered at least one psychotropic drug. In the US alone, data shows hundreds of preteens in foster care prescribed at least four psychotropic medication at one time without any real oversight. Isn't that crazy? That's a lot of
Yeah.
drugs just for one preteen. That's still a child.
Yeah.
All right. Our second topic is staff grooming and abuses. Where were there any instances where you felt manipulated or unsafe around certain caregivers?
I know firsthand that with one of the female staff workers, Michelle, that worked in my cottage, I know when I went and bowed down to her or do what she would say, she would threaten to actually bring her daughters up there to fight me. And I also know, a male staff that a lot of the females were saying was grooming them was Eric. Kind of like he was like a bodybuilder, like and some of that. Like I've had a lot of female stories tell me that definitely some females I was very close with told me that he was grooming them. So
All right. How did the system respond when concerns were raised about inappropriate behavior?
in my opinion, I feel like they swept it up under the rug, like they overlooked it um or they made it seem like it was just a figure of our imagination, um like we did something to probably provoke them to feel like that. So I feel like it was a lot of the times getting put blamed on us, like it was our fault for the situation, or like even if they knew it wasn't our fault, it got swept up under the rug, like you didn't really see that person anymore or you didn't see that child anymore and stuff like that. And I've noticed that firsthand, like definitely with a female that I was very close with, like she ended up getting adopted out and name changed and all that. And to this day, I can't even find where she may be at. And I know she went through that. And I know her name then. I don't remember the last name, but I know her first name was Nicole. But I don't know what the adopted name was. So they changed her first and last name. And to this day, I don't even know if she's dead or alive.
Well, there's a certain language for that. It's a term called Darvo, where they deny attack, reverse victor to offend them, to offender. Anybody that speaks out, they're gonna deny it. They're gonna attack you for speaking out. They're gonna say you're a liar. They're gonna make you from a victim to an offender, and then they're gonna try to medicate you to make you forget that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What support systems were in place for reporting and addressing such issues?
Um, Basically, a lot of us was giving mentors that was like over us, like they weren't technically the house parent that was in the building with us. We was able to go talk with them, or even sometimes supposedly the therapist that they set us up with. And like I said, I really turned against the therapist because a lot of things, like I felt like what you were just saying, it was always seeming like it was turned to where like I was the reason, or it was my fault this, or I should have blamed it on my mother and stuff like that. Or I should have blamed it on this particular person. I shouldn't have been blaming who it was. So they had people in place, but it was still people that was up under their control that they could disappear. As soon as they brought it to the higher people, like I said again, it'll still get swept up under the rug. Like it's not all of them were bad, but a lot of them were, and stuff like that. So like I really want to say it was too many things that was really placed in order for you, because even if you did go to someone that you could talk to and stuff like that, and they bring it to a higher up, it still got swept up under the rug. It's like then they probably persuade or manipulate the person that you told to just forget about it and act like nothing ever happened or nothing was ever brought to them.
Right. If you could, what changes would you recommend to protect youth from abuses in foster care?
I feel if I could make some changes, I feel like really a lot of the staff that get hired, I feel like it should be a more increased background on them. like not just like the little normal background that you do on a person. I feel like it should be a little bit more deeper in depth with it because you never know what a person might have done to the parent and got sponged off their record, or what they're not telling you. And so then if you don't look into it, I feel that, it should be mandatory check-ins with these children to where someone that is actually going to do something about it. Because it's like I've even said, like, even with just that being corrupt, even with the CPS system itself, it is corrupt. It's a lot of them that are doing things like, and that's why I sit here and say it needs to be like real deep background checks on these people, because a lot of people are just really in it for the money. They're not in it to really care for the children. And I feel like it should be more people that care about the children that should be working around them. I don't feel like it should just be someone that's just there to have a paycheck.
Right. Another quick statistic: those who have been in foster care or group home experience sexual abuse and assault at a disproportionately high rate. Sexual grooming behaviors are an integral component of childhood sexual abuse, with offenders using these tactics to gain trust and compliance on the child. That's how depressing it is. These individuals, they know that you're a vulnerable child. They know you're highly medicated. They know that you have some diagnosis that they can use in court to say that it never happened. It happens to this day. All right. Our next topic is aging out and falling through the cracks. What challenges did you face upon aging out of the foster care system?
Um, like I said, I was placed back with my mother. I feel a little too early. Um, I don't feel like the proper procedures was done right. Because I was actually placed back into my mom's home. She didn't have running hot water. They didn't check for that. All they seen was the fact that she had food in her refrigerator and she had a bed for me to sleep on and she had furniture. But it's like right after they left and placed me back in there, it's like she got rid of all the furniture. And so, and like I said, they didn't even notice that my mom didn't have running hot water. And so I was placed at there to where a woman that was still actively using and wanted to use it, so I had to bounce around. I went to stay with my grandmother. When she passed away, I tried to stay with my brother, and for a long time, I had to sit there and bounce from couch to couch with friends. Like I didn't have a really actual permanent place of my own.
All right. Were there any resources or programs available to assist with housing, employment, or education after leaving the group home or foster care in general?
At first, um, I was told that since I left, I wasn't gonna be able to like get some of the assistance, but then I got reached out saying that I could still go through like the ILP, the Independent Living Program, that they would still help me go through college. But it's like when I tried to actually go to something, I had to go to like these little things just in order for them to do it. And like when I was getting ready for me to actually go to Fort Valley State University, they backed down on actually paying for my scholarship. So like no, I really didn't have a lot of support after that. Like once I got placed in my mom's care again, and so that it's like everybody just backed away from me. Like I didn't have no help from nowhere. I had to figure everything out on my own, and that was like another reason why after I graduated high school, because I was a senior when I went home to my mom. When I graduated, I basically didn't. I didn't go to college because I was gonna take a year off and stuff like that to figure out how I was gonna be able to pay for college.
Did you go homeless anytime after excuse me. Did you go homeless anytime after being
I didn't
in
go
foster
fully,
care?
fully homeless, but it's like I was, like I said, like I either had friends to stay with, or like I stayed with my brother for a while, but then his placement got up under high risk of him losing it because I was staying with him. So like I had to end up like sleeping from like friends' houses. Like I end up sleeping in abandoned houses and stuff like that just to have somewhere to stay and stuff like that. Like I wasn't fully, fully homeless. I had some friends that I could go stay with, but not fully. Definitely after my grandmother passed away.
Well, I know when I aged out, technically, even sleeping on their couches, their floor, their basement, God only knows where, we're still technically homeless.
Yeah.
I know at one point I had to stay in an abandoned building and I literally had to warm up my ravioli on a candle, a candle holder?
Mhm.
And I used the candle under the holder just to warm up the ravioli until it boiled within the can. And thank God I had resources that I had acquired through meeting individuals. And then thank God for my wife's family who stood by me no matter what. They gave me options, but those options didn't really fit my kind of. I had a child, I had a girlfriend that I'm planning on marrying, but I can't marry you because I have no plans.
Yeah.
And at this time period, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be taken care of. Sooner or later, my foster parent is going to reach out to me. Never did, by the way, but they did everything they could. I know we call her Graham, so I'm not going to dox her on here, but Graham fed me all the time. Her mother fed me all the time. And they were really supportive during my transition to starting to get to work, doing right, and learning how to survive in that type of element. But nobody reached out to me, not the Methodist Home, not CPS, not defects. Nobody really reached out to me when it came down to that. So you kind of had a different experience, but I would say it's quite similar.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing like what you said. I didn't get reached out from the Methodist Home. I didn't get reached out from CPS. So it's like once even though I was 17 when I went home, once I turned 18, it's like didn't no one really care. Oh, she's 18, like she can't get placed back in the system. So I felt that exact same way. Like,
We lost a lot of people along the way as well. One of them is Jaleel, and I know you know him. Eduardo, I lost him to, and he's not even like R.I.P. He's we have to say unalive on this type of channel, but he's not. He's missing.
yeah,
Nobody can find him. Eduardo Pichardo. If he ever sees this, please reach out to me. I'll continue with Nene.
hmm,
She was living in Green Meadows, and her boyfriend pew pewed, and he wasn't even her baby daddy, from what I hear.
yeah,
Yeah. If nobody knows, Ashley will tell you her real name because
it was Kaniza Owens.
yeah, I would say it, but I don't want to. I already said Jaleel, so
Yeah,
I at least want to let everybody know that you know them too.
yes.
Um, Last two questions on this one. How did your experiences in foster care prepare you or not prepare you for independent living?
Um, I can honestly say because of the fact that I left at the age of 17, I had a little bit of the skills, like okay, the cooking, know how to cook for myself, basically knowing how to bathe, shower, whatever like that. But as in like being prepared, like to pay bills or how to sit up here and try to get a place to live, I wasn't really prepared for that. And with that experience, like I said, it led me down a very dark road. Because like I said, after I lost my grandmother, I didn't have nowhere else to go. My mom, just because she knew I was 18 and CPS couldn't get back involved, she basically chose to go get back on drugs. She didn't have to sit up here and deal with the fact of me staying with her or not. So like I got a little bit, like I said, like the cooking and maybe like sitting up here knowing how to bathe myself and all this and know how to do job applications and stuff. But like as in really trying to like maybe learn how to do a bank checking account and all this stuff, or how to apply for actually housing or anything like that. I wasn't taught them that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did they teach you how to pay bills?
No, I think I left before they could even ever teach me that.
Did they teach you how to apply for credit or better yet gain credit?
No, and that's why to
All
this day I
right.
don't even really have credit like that.
Do you remember Joseph Bullitt? We call him Papa Joe.
Yes,
Do you remember Papa Joe teaching you how to sign checks?
yes,
I told him one time, I was like, man, we're not doing this in this age. We're over here using credit cards. Can you teach us that? He said, you're going to learn more on how to sign a check than you are on using a debit or credit card. I mean, I rarely use checks, but when I do, I'm glad I learned that, but it was a skill that was kind of a swing and miss for me.
yeah,
You could have given us certain bills that we had to pay since we did have to get jobs eventually
Yeah,
because of independent, not independent living, but the college houses. We had to get a job, and half of our check had to go into a certain bank account
yeah.
or on campus bank
Yeah,
account.
what? Yeah, because I know, like, even when we worked, it was split in three: a third that was in our hand, a third in short term, and then a third in long term. So, where like if you ever went to the independent living house, that was like for college, or like how in my case when I went home, that third right there got sent to me, and so that we got sent to my mom. Everything was put in her name.
But did you get the full third? Did you get the
I
full
don't believe
third?
I did. Like, like knowing how long I worked for them, definitely working down there at the cafeteria, and definitely on like when they had the little sports events so that I know I made way more for it to be split in thirds, and I don't really think I actually got my full third with the long term.
Well, I'll say this. I know for a fact I didn't. And I also know that Magnolia Manor, they had us pairing up with a
Mhm.
elder person so we can receive their some type of we were supposed to receive insurance money from them,
Yeah,
like some type of insurance policy. I know that that's what they were telling us when they were hanging out with us. I'm going to leave you something in my will so you can
mhm.
not suffer growing up, etc., etc.
Yeah,
I never received. And see, when they when they utilize the money that they donate for the children for the home itself and not give it to the children, that's when I start questioning, what are y'all really doing with the money?
yeah,
Have y'all ever been audited? Because I think a lot of people need to look into that money in itself.
yeah,
And that leads me to say this. I think every elder person should be taken care of at home. I think they should be taken care of at adult daycare. And that leads me to talk about Alice's Place Adult Daycare and Alice's Place LLC. This this lady who started it is very wonderful. Her name's Patricia Duncan, and she can get you paid to take care of your family at home, and she can get you a place to bring your family member if you can't afford to do it at home. And I'll let her one day on a podcast explain exactly what she does. But going to our last question on this topic, forgive me, I got off topic. What support would have made a significant difference during your transition?
I feel like if they would have reached out more, like I will, I'm say, it was one mentor that actually did come to my graduation, and that was Kathy Hill. Virgil Lewis was supposed to come, but he couldn't at that time. I think something was going on with his son at that moment. But like he did send a card. He sent a little bit of money for me graduating. But I feel like if they would have reached out a little bit more and stuff like that and made sure I was okay, I think that, I probably wouldn't have went through some of the things that I went through. Like, my mama getting back on drugs, and then after my grandmother passing away and so that, and how her husband was basically me forcefully have to go stay with my brother, and then when he was getting in trouble with his landlord and stuff like that, me have to literally find someone. I feel like if they would have reached out more or even gave me maybe even a little bit more life learning experience for me instead of like sheltering me when I was in that group home, I feel that, maybe I would have been able to like come out a little bit better.
All right. Here's some statistics about aging out or even getting placed back at home. Approximately 20% of foster care youth become homeless immediately upon aging out of the system. Between 31% and 41% experience homelessness by the age of 26. In America, over 29% of previously sheltered transition age youth cited aging out of foster care as the primary reason for their homelessness. You know, there's a time where you think, man, they're just blaming everybody but themselves instead of going to get a job, instead of doing what they have to for themselves. They want to blame the world for what they do. But in reality, put yourself in our shoes where we literally had to survive. when leaving. And then do you remember, like, I remember for a fact there was a specific group, like 5% of us, that was very favored by the home itself. I won't mention who because I'm not going to dox them on here. But there was a select few that they would pick so they could put them in front of cameras in the little magazine that they had and everything else so people can see, oh, they're doing really well with these people, showed them the good grades, and they kind of hid us during these events.
Yeah.
And those people are still sheltered and cared for by the Methodist home. Most of them receive those inheritances. Now, remember the word, y'all, so you can't get on to me, from the elder people from Magnolia Manor, you know,
Yeah.
and these people are living good lives. It took me almost 10 years, no, 9 years of being homeless and finally transitioning to a place where I can live, and thank God for my wife. Without her, I would be nowhere to this day. Thank God for her family for, you know, putting me under their wings because if not, I'd probably be somewhere in jail, institutionalized, or even worse.
Yeah.
And then, God forbid, you speak out and they find out that you're speaking out, then they're going to deny it and send their little, I call them cronies, after you. And
Hmm.
this ain't being paranoid, it happens. All right. So, other than that, that kind of concludes a lot of what I had to talk about today. I know there's more that we were going to talk about, and I said that we were, but we're going to go ahead and save that for part two. But I will do some acknowledgments real quick. And if you'd like to stay on, that's all right. I want to send a heartfelt thank you to our generous supporters, Papa John's and Marco Pizza, both located in Warner Robins, Georgia. Our sponsor of the day is Rainstorm, where I get my energy drinks. They donate them to us, and they don't even require a tax write off. How dope is that, right? I would like to also acknowledge MN Nice Botanicals for being our sponsor. Walmart and the Spark Good program, Publix, and the Drug Free World, who sends us these little nice, nifty things to learn about every drug there is and teach people that we can about the bad, the bad parts of drugs. I got a lot of stuff over here that I have to show off. All right. I also want to thank Alice's Place and Miss Patricia Duncan for this little plaque that she gave me. And it's very wonderful what it says. Sometimes you forget you are awesome. So this is your reminder. How dope is that, Ashley,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I also want to bring up that in our future endeavors, which won't be that long from now, I promise you, we are starting a program called Pathway to Independence Living Program. And in this program, you will be able to learn about independent living, get some education for free. Don't worry about if you graduated high school or not. We will get you educated and a certificate in your pocket or on your wall, depending on how you want to carry it around.
Mhm.
And not only that, you will receive the deed to the house that you do the program in. We will donate that house to you free of charge. All right, next thing that I have to show off, and it's one of my favorite things, is Publix has sponsored us to give out non perishables, bottled water, hygiene kits to the homeless. And we put the non perishables in here, and there's a lot of cool stuff in there. All right. MN Nice Botanicals, or Botanicals, depending. Christian is one of my friends, and he gives me these blue lotuses that I use in all of our products because we do have fundraisers. We have black soap, lotion, shampoo, etc. And I like to thank them as well. Um, what else? That's about it. I do appreciate you coming to this
Oh,
podcast.
you're
I know it's
welcome.
kind of late. I know it's kind of late, but I know you're busy with them kids.
Oh yes.
And yeah, my wife, she really, y'all, if y'all don't know this, my wife and Ashley were best friends growing up in high school together. And Ashley, I don't know if you remember this. Remember Heather?
Yes.
Okay, so when we were walking through the hallways, this is before I knew who my wife was. when we were walking through the hallways, we came outside during lunch, and I'm looking in the distance, and I crap you not, the light above my wife,
Mhm.
the sun had to have gotten brighter because everybody else disappeared and she was glowing. And I know you remember this because you were walking with us.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Heather were walking up there. Heather had a crush on me. I didn't know this. We were walking over there, and I just kept staring at Buki. That's what I call my wife. I kept staring at her, and I'm like, man, she's so beautiful. So everything y'all said went in one ear and out the other. By the time we got toward my wife, you remember she pushed me down.
Mhm.
And y'all ran off giggling like the shit was funny when it really wasn't. So I got up and I'm embarrassed. I look at my wife and I'm like, are those braces? The worst pickup line I could ever think of. She was like, yeah. I was like, where did you get them? She was like, downtown. I don't know where she went, somewhere at the mall. And I was like, okay, I'm thinking about getting some. I lied my butt off right then. Next thing you know, dude, we were in class. She turns around and says, oh, it's you again. You're going to sit behind me. And I was like, I swear to God, I'm not stalking you. But other than that, Ashley, we will start a part two on this podcast. We will dig deeper into other things like Hillside
Yes.
and other places that you and I actually know each other from,
Oh yeah.
and the atrocity that happens there. Yet again, thank you for coming to the Blue Lotus Studio. My name is Thomas Alfred, CEO of Blue Lotus Ministries Inc. And we are a church. Look us up on Facebook, Reverend Tom Alford. And also, don't you have a GoFundMe or something out?
Yes, I do. I, let me. I do. I gotta look and see where. I gotta go back to my messages. I'm using my son's phone. My son's phone over here. Uh, it. It's called supportnow.org, and it's support Ashley and Jansen. Like I said, trying to get up the money to get into our own place because right now I'm currently staying with my aunt and her husband, and not with another situation that went on. They've actually put my husband out, so he's currently staying in the hotel room. So trying to get the money up for that, and then like making sure that we have all the furniture we need for the boys to be able to sleep on and stuff. So yeah, again, that website to be able to look it up at is supportnow.org, and it's support Ashley and Jansen. So
All right. What's your Facebook so they can get to that and they can get on to that?
um, my Facebook is Ashley Ashley Morgan Morgan.
All right. Well, if y'all join her, help her out the best you can. Thank you again for coming to our
Thank you.
studio. Ashley, hold on and we'll talk after this.
All right.